Welcome to Meganet Gaming, and today we're going to look at two PlayStation versions of Saturn games I owned, which are Madden 98 and NBA Live 97, and see how they've aged, as well as see how well their PlayStation counterparts were to the Saturn versions. I remember these games being quite impressive when they were released on their respective platforms. So we'll go ahead and throw up some gameplay footage while we discuss it of Madden 97 first. And we will go ahead and get rid of the title theme music. Alright, so Madden 97. This game was released for Super Nintendo, Sega Saturn, Genesis, Windows, and PlayStation. And the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation versions are, as far as game modes, multiplayer modes, in general, just the graphics aren't really that different. The speed of the gameplay, both are very similar. If you enjoy one game, whether it's a Saturn or PlayStation version, you'll enjoy the other. From my memory and recently playing the Saturn version on emulator, the graphics on the PlayStation seem to be slightly cleaner and less pixelated. But I didn't do an actual test to see that. So it was released in mid to late 1997. I actually got the Saturn version on August 26th of 97, and the PlayStation version came out in September. Well, the PlayStation version came out July 31st for North America, and then in September for PAL regions. So yeah, it actually came out on PlayStation almost a month earlier. So it's developed by Tiburon Entertainment and published by EA Sports. At the time, you had a lot of games that were moving to using polygons instead of sprites. The Madden series at this point hadn't moved on to polygons, still using sprites, but using sprites that are quite impressive compared to earlier football games. And animation's less choppy, the frame rate's much higher, and you much more feel like you're in control of the game. There's not as many like game-breaking money plays if you're playing against a computer. However, one thing I would critique is trying to get a running game established, whether it's against in a multiplayer game or against a computer. It can be quite difficult getting a traditional running game established. I've noticed I can do little runs up the middle with no problem, or I do the occasional quarterback sneak to the outside if I call a Hail Mary and everybody drops back for coverage except a few blockers. Depending on the game, it seems like some games there's a lot of interceptions that it seem odd that they happen, almost like you're dealing with. I mean, you are dealing with random numbers underneath, but there's some fumbles that just seem a bit out of place, but nothing really that noticeable. The interception there was a fault of my own. Bad choice throwing into triple coverage. You have John Madden and Pat Summerall doing commentary, which makes it feel much more like an actual football game you're watching on TV. So just in regards to the game, if you're picking teams for multiplayer, you do get the historical teams. You get the Pro Bowl teams. As far as overall best team according to just raw score, it would be the Green Bay Packers, and the worst would be the Baltimore Ravens. And offense, Cowboys, Patriots, and Packers all have 100. And the Seahawks, Packers, and Niners have 97s, which is tied for best in defense. If you care about special teams, the Chargers have best overall score in that with 96. You can actually control the speed of the pass by how hard you press the button, which is a new feature. Actually, Helps quite a bit in controlling how your throws go. You have you have an acceptable playbook. It's actually quite sizable. You have the plays you'd expect. Also, with the players in the game, if let's say I decided I was going to put somebody a really slow fullback in as a halfback and do running plays, they're going to be slower and have more difficulty. But if that person's also quite sizable, they're going to be harder to bring down. It's much better in that regards as far as like accuracy of the actual players is concerned and how it relates to the gameplay compared to earlier versions of the game. At the time, most of the magazines gave this game somewhere between an 8 and a 10 out of 10, or if they use a percentage scale, it'd be 80 to 100. It's quite well received. But people going back to it later on, it's been much more mixed considering we have a lot more football titles at the time, and we even had NFL Game Day at the time and some NFL Blitz series coming up. So there's actually quite a bit of competition for NFL licensed games. I believe that competition actually helped make the football games quite a bit better at the time. And I believe that I really wish the EA hadn't gotten an exclusive license because we could be seeing other companies trying to create a Madden competitor with real players and teams. So yeah, with it, it's difficult to get a running play established. Passing is quite easy to do. Control is responsive. But there are quite a few other football games you could play. Personally, if I'm going to go play a retro game, I'd prefer the Tecmo Bowl series, whether it be the Genesis or Super Nintendo versions or all the way back to regular Nintendo. Or I'd go a few years later and maybe get Madden 05 or Madden 05, 06, or 07, or at least one of the Maddens from the 2000s. If you have a PS2, Xbox, or GameCube, or even one of the newer versions on either the Saturn or the PlayStation. But as is, it's quite a fun game that holds up surprisingly well. As far as the Mega Egg and everybody else, as far as our group goes, it got a score of 3.67, which is equivalent to about a B minus. And it's a middling game as far as all the games we've reviewed so far. Go ahead and pull that up really quick. 6 is our best of all time games. 5A, 4B, 3C, 2D, 1F. So, the other game is NBA Live 97, which I also had on the Sega Saturn. I didn't get a chance to check this out on an emulator, so I'm going by memory. But the graphics and gameplay seem almost identical between the two versions. The loading time did take quite a bit of time, surprisingly, on the emulator, but that's something.
And now, here's the starting lineup for both teams.
So NBA Live 97 was developed by EA Canada for the PlayStation. Real-Time Associates dealt with the Saturn ports.
Welcome to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And tonight's game featuring the Atlanta Hawks and the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Interesting thing about this game is all the player animation created using motion capture.
Cherokee Parks.
We actually have real NBA basketball players
Stephon
do that,
Marbury.
including Richmond, Tyus Edmonds, and others. You get Al Murdoch and Eddie Johnson Jr. doing audio commentary. The frame rate seems to run quite a bit better than previous
Kevin
you get quite a
Garnett.
few different
The assist to
perspectives.
Cherokee Park.
And you have all the modes you'd expect from a mid to late 90s basketball game. There are a lot of special moves you can do. And shooting is responsive. And also, just like the Madden game, let's say you decided you're going to bring Shaquille O'Neal out to shoot
2 minutes to go
or
in
free
the first
throws.
quarter.
You're much likely to hit that no matter how well you time the shot versus putting a Steve Kerr out
James.
there. Given some players had licensed games who were still under contract elsewhere, such as Michael Jordan with his Seattle Soccer City game. He is in the game as player number 24. And there are a few players in game where, because of their stats, if you're playing against a computer, you can abuse their unique talents quite a bit. However, playing against a skilled human player, they can adapt to that quite easily. As far as how it was received, received quite well, but not as well as the Madden game. You have Saturn Power giving it a 60 out of 100. So the Saturn Madden
Cherokee Park.
and the reviews for the PlayStation 1 being quite a bit better. I'd have to actually read
1 minute remaining in the first quarter.
See how well they compare. But from memory, if I was given the choice of playing either version, it wouldn't be one that'd stand out necessarily as being better than the other, but that is tainted quite a bit by childhood nostalgia. So yeah, as far as picking this game up, turn to pricecharting.com. A loose copy of Madden 98 averages $3.91. Complete $5.99 and new complete boxes.
Cherokee Parks.
And if you look around, you can probably pick this game up at a game for easily less than $5. And it's definitely worth that price. A lot of really high quality sports games because of new players coming in and new additions. I'd say for $5 or less, definitely. Same thing with NBA Live 97. This game is, according to PriceBook.com, $4.67 loose on average, $7.42 complete, and less than $20 You do have Cody Bryant making a debut in here. You have a young Kevin Garnett. There's actually this was a unique period of basketball where you have some new, extremely popular players coming in. And you still have a lot of the old guard players here. So if you care about rosters, it's actually, and you can do the creative co-op.
Cherokee Park.
So yeah, both games, there are better versions of each out there. They've aged quite well and it's still quite fun multiplayer. However, there are, like I said, newer versions in this series that I would prefer. And personally, I prefer NBA Live 99
Cherokee Park.
gameplay over this specific
The assist
version.
to Stephon Marbury.
So yeah, as far as what we rated them, we have them out of, let's see, how many games have we done? We have them 17th and 18th respectively, going into the recommend category. And let's see. There we go. There's the rest of the list. I did add the borderline category because there's a lot of games in the recommend category that weren't hard recommends. But yeah, these are on the bottom of the recommend list, but I definitely recommend them, especially for the price. You could probably pick up both games for less than $10, and you'll definitely get more than that in enjoyment, especially if you have somebody else to play the games with. So yeah, Madden 98, NBA Live 97 have aged fairly well, are still fun. Definitely not best sports games of all time by any means, but for the price, they've aged quite well. Definitely pick them up if you can find them. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day.